And good morning and welcome to Quality Perks, where we delve into the dynamics of customer experience and leadership within the contact center industry. I'm your host, Karen Dupree, along with my co-host, Neil Eggers, and we are so excited to have Valerie McSorley join us, where we are going to talk about coffee and heart-centered leadership. Yes. Awesome. So first off, we always start off with what coffee we're drinking today. So I am drinking what's called Seattle's Best. So I'm on the East Coast, but I'm drinking the West Coast here. And it is delicious. And because we are also talking about women in the contact center industry, I brought my special coffee. And what it says is the future is female.
Love it. Love it. That's great.
Deal with it, Neil. Deal with it. All right.
I agree with your mug.
Oh, that's right. You have a daughter, so he's on our side.
Very much.
Yes. So, Neil, what are you drinking this lovely morning?
We have some new Quality Perks branded Yeti coffee mugs that just came in. So out of that, I'm drinking local here to Melbourne, Florida, Villain Coffee as usual. So shout out to Villain Coffee, local company, local brew. So always love to give them as much business as possible.
Awesome. Yummy. And what are you drinking, Valerie?
So I brought the biggest mug that I have in the house because I don't know what to expect with this conversation today. And I have a toffee nut latte.
That sounds delish.
It's actually like my favorite coffee. It's like my guilty pleasure coffee that I like. It's not the usual that I have in the morning, but I thought today was a special day.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. We'll see if you get through that entire mug during the conversation. That would be impressive.
I'm ready to pounce for the rest of the day.
Indeed.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the show, Valerie. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
Sure. So I may look familiar to a lot of folks in the contact center industry. I had my own business for over 25 years, producing all kinds of content and executive level workshops and networking all around the country. COVID actually was not kind to the events industry, so I did some pivoting, and I really found my lane in the virtual space. And I do my own series now virtually. I have a session actually this afternoon for women in the contact center space, and we do them monthly. And they just bring me so much joy. There's so much that I get out of bringing really smart, intelligent women together monthly for a conversation that's related to the industry. And I really believe that right now it's really important that folks stay connected. Regardless, like it's great that the pendulum is swung back and people can see each other again in real life. But with, you hear the Surgeon General's new warning of, loneliness, like people still need to be connected. So I love to bring people together that have obviously common interests related to the industry, but then really kind of, pull them through the screen and feel like they've had an experience with me. So it's really the work that lights me up.
I went to last month and it was absolutely amazing. And I've made some great connections being a female in this industry and really being able to talk to other folks like myself, get good ideas and just be able to like, oh my gosh, this is happening to me too, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, psychologically, the mental health of it has been real important, and I'm excited to be part of this group.
That's awesome. I really appreciate hearing that because I hear that so often. And it's nice to be in like-minded company that knows what you're going through. And I saw that for years in person, and it didn't go away. In fact, it got worse in the virtual space because you have that isolation factor, and you're trying to do all these things, and the whole world had to change at the same time. So, to be in a room where you can have, and this is something I really pride myself on, virtual or in person, creating a comfortable atmosphere where you feel like you can exchange ideas and have just a sort of veil of trust that, this is something that worked for us. Maybe you should try it. Or, also walk away with the understanding of, here's a way you may want to rethink that. And people feel validated, understanding what works for them, as well as new ways to try things. So, I've always kind of felt like I want people to do three things when they spend time with me. I want them to network, I want them to learn something, and I want them to have some fun. And if I could do that, then that's ticking all the boxes for everybody.
That's fantastic. Well, we're definitely excited about learning something from you today, Valerie. So let's dive right in. So, can you kick us off by explaining to us what is heart-centered leadership?
Sure. So, heart-centered leadership is really an approach, and it's a style of leadership that emphasizes that you have compassion and empathy and authenticity to really guide and inspire others around you. So your teams, your coworkers, I think it can go in leadership beyond professionally and personally as well, within your community, within your family, within your own neighborhood. So, rather than just solely focusing on some of the more traditional metrics measured or related to success, is, profits, productivity, those types of factors. This goes on a different track to emphasize really meaningful connections, which is something that's really powerful and resonates with me for many years, because there's so much power in the personal connection. And that style of leadership really fosters then a more positive culture, and
Hmm.
prioritizes the well-being of the team members. So, right now there's a real focus on mental health, and people are struggling, and there is sort of this isolation, loneliness, depression that people have when they're still working hybrid, remote. And team leaders may not see it. And when you're not in the same four walls, you may not see if someone's struggling. So it's more important than ever to have this style of leadership allows you to really listen with a different, empathetic ear, which I think in the customer service business, empathy plays a
Hmm.
huge role. So you can have empathy on multiple levels. Obviously, customer service leaders always listening to the customer, and you're training your agents to put yourself in their shoes and be empathetic and try and solve problems and being empowered to do that. But it goes a little bit deeper. So a heart-centered leader truly wants to understand and learn and actively seek out the feelings and the perspectives of their team. They want to hear with empathetic ears, and really, you know who cares about you, right? Just think about the three people right now, and if you're blessed to have more than that, that's great. But just think about the one person that you could think of that truly cares about you. Unconditionally, they care for you. Why is that? Do they seek to understand you? Do they listen to you? Do they help you see all sides? Do they take
Hmm.
do they take what you're saying to them and then really consider it? It helped me many, many years ago. I mean, I'm going way, way back when I initially had the opportunity to have some leadership positions. I would go into some meetings and think, this is my decision. But then I would listen to the other folks at the table and really have to separate that. And even though there was times I didn't agree with what the right
Hmm.
outcome should be, after listening and considering everyone's opinions, I was moved to say, you know what, that's probably the way to go, not the way that I thought initially. So it's really important that you have sort of that you actively listen, you create an inclusive environment where folks really feel supported.
Hmm. It's really important. I know that I've been in meetings, and we with upper management, and they when they stop and listen and think about it, there's some good ideas that folks have. Listen, and maybe let's discuss it and how can it be better. And it's a win-win situation because if you're being listened to, then you know that they actually care about you. And going back to what you said earlier, why do these folks care about you, and how do they show that? And one thing is having that empathy and also having that, listening. We're given uh, two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? So we can listen twice as much as we talk. And I think it really plays into that style of leadership. Just because you're a leader doesn't necessarily make you the person that has the best answers. You're just the best person that you can hear them and then take those options and say, okay, let's do it this way. And it's basically like herding, I guess. Keeping folks on the right direction and great ways to win-win in those situations. So great. So that's very powerful foundation to a leadership style. And you went over those defining characteristics, and then why do you think this leadership style resonates so well within the contact center industry in particular?
I think there's naturally a bit of a disconnect between what upper management might think and what the agents on the floor can tell you. So the leaders that go and walk the floor and really seek to learn and hear from the front line, right? The front line, there's a difference between, we all know what a war looks like. There's a difference between the frontline experience and the people, in the war room drafting the plans. Like the best laid plans don't always come to fruition. So the leaders that actively seek out and are engaged in listening, and then not only that, want to provide feedback, want to support their agents, right? Because happy agents have the best tools and they have all the pieces of the puzzle to succeed. They're empowered to solve problems actively with the customer. They have a lot of the traits that this type of leadership, it just bodes so well with. You have to listen not only to the customer needs, but to your team needs as well. So if they don't have the right tools, if you're not giving them the right support, it's a really tough job. Those frontline agents have a really tough job. And then if they don't feel heard by their management, and then they're getting beat up by every call, and then they're getting measured on these metrics that some of them can be a little outdated, like AHT is the sole measurement, is really not the right way to measure the effectiveness of a call, because if they have to really get in there and do their job, the nature of the calls have gotten more sophisticated over time because there's so many self-service platforms now. If someone's actually calling, nobody wants to call you. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but nobody actually wants to talk to those agents. They want to do everything but.
Just another painful contact center moment, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the more that you can understand, anticipate, support their needs, but also fix their problems, they'll be happier. And can't you tell when you have a happy person on the phone? Can't you hear the smile? We all know that you hear a smile.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting that you talk about walking the floor. When we do site surveys, it's like an actual part of our evaluation is the break room, the smoking dock, the parking lot. If you want to know what's going on and where the real opportunities are, doing side by sides is always helpful. It's a part of that process, but getting to understand the agents and their day and the difference between that first call and the 1,000th call is really important.
Some of the best leaders that I've seen in action in the space, I've seen them try all different types of things to try and understand what's happening. And some of those powerful things, we have all this technology in the space. Like the space is, especially right now with the explosion of AI and ChatGPT, and you can't even keep up with the technology. But some of the most basic things that have been the most powerful that I've seen leaders do is just keep just jot down like your top 5 drivers or call drivers for today. Just today. Let's just take a snapshot. What were the most reasons that people are calling in? And just keep a little list. So you're not it's those stories and hearing that on that's what tells the story. And now that helps the leader to make some changes or to support them. I mean, I don't think anyone goes to work and thinks I want to show up today and do a bad job. I'm going to get beaten up anyway by the customer. And I want to, no one goes and shows up and thinks that they don't want to do their best. Right. So.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes, across the board, even into the leaders themselves. So the leaders of the contact centers, they're trying to be the best that they can be for the agents. And a lot of times, what happens, and from our experience, is that we see leaders, they're out there trying to put out fires,
Mm-hmm.
and so they don't have the time to sit and really coach, or they were thrown into that position as a well-performing agent moving up into a supervisory position, and they don't learn how to coach properly, and how to get the most out of a coaching session itself, right? And so it's important to understand and have that empathy, not only for the agents, but also for the managers that are out there on the front line trying to put fires out, and also give the tools to the actual agents, right? So with that empathy, from what I'm hearing from you, is that it's hugely crucial in the leadership style in contact centers globally, right? Not just for the agents and providing that service to the customers, but also to the leadership. Um, so, would you agree? And what would you say more about how crucial that is into the leadership platform?
Well, I think, of course, it's crucial, but I think empathy is just one part of it. There's other characteristics that make a good heart-centered leader. So you want to also have compassion for your team. So you want to demonstrate kindness. You want to show that you understand their concerns. People want to feel heard. They want to feel heard and seen. So you want to tell them that you understand the struggles that they're facing. You understand those challenges, and you want to help them. So by offering words of support and encouragement, you can do that in a very meaningful way. So, you know, these types of leaders and this leadership style really goes above and beyond to really just lend a hand, lend when folks really need a hand up, they're there. And there's like one of my favorite sayings is, it's never crowded. It's never that crowded along the extra mile. So think of the folks that go the extra mile. Think about sort of the traits that they have. Are they compassionate? Are they kind? And do they have a level of authenticity? There is such a premium on being authentic in the workplace right now. It's like a lost art. Heart-centered leaders have sort of that honesty and that integrity and that authenticity, and they're just genuine. They're the real, I say all the time, like, they're the real deal. Like, who is. I'm sure there's some leaders that are coming to the top of your mind, like, that don't have to go too far to think about who are the most important mentors who made a difference to you. Think about leaders, bosses, teachers, just folks in your life. Like, what were these traits? And I'm gonna guess, if you really thought about it, that a lot of them are the ones that we're talking about right now, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Like, who inspired you and why? Like, we talk a lot about what's our why in this industry. What's our why? We have to find our why. What's this why to this type of style? Like, what drives you? What motivates you? What are your values? Mission critical, like, as an individual, as a leader, across the organization. All of these things connect and tell a story. And then in terms of, like a heart-centered, but also a servant leadership approach, which we hear a lot of buzz around that term as well.
Absolutely. So with managers and leaders listening right now, how do you suggest that if they want to shift to this heart-centered leadership role, what are kind of their first steps that they need to do?
So I think the first step is realizing and stepping into the fact that you want to make changes and that you want to be more engaged with your team and having a meeting with them and explaining to them that you want to be more open and receptive to their feedback, that you want the team to feel this sort of inclusion, and that you want to create an atmosphere where they feel safe and valued and trusted, and they feel secure, and really bringing out the dirty laundry and putting it on the table, rolling up their sleeves and get to work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds great. Neil, were you going to say something?
When you said that bringing everything out on the table, I always feel the more opportunities that we have to talk in that open type, have that dialogue. I'm always saying how everybody always feels better after a QBR or an MBR, right? Because we've all gotten together, we've aired the grievances and we're action oriented, and so you don't let all of the negative vibes that people may be feeling about their relationships with their peers or coworkers or bosses are no longer hindrances to actually doing a good work and moving the ball forward for the customer, for the business, whatever. So it just triggered that thought when you said that. It's something near and dear to my heart, is that the conversation, seeing people and being action oriented without the cloud of negative interpersonal relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Communication is huge.
Communicate, over communicate. And, that culture really of trust, community, collaboration, connection, all of those things that we put together. And then to feel like, you just kind of touched on this, that there's no repercussions. We just have to address it. Like, this is a problem. Let's acknowledge it and let's move forward. And, having that sort of culture that's not only expected and welcome, but valued.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Valerie, it's been enlightening talking to you. I've learned a lot, and I hope that we can count on you to join us again for our quality perk session. The one thing that really, the context of the contact centers and how it can really enable great experiences, not only employee experiences but also customer experiences, is what you've shared with us about the heart-centered leadership. So, lead more with the heart. I love it, and I don't know if you would like to share any last thoughts, ideas, with our audience here.
Sure. Well, I like to wrap things up with a great big bow, so why not? I think that you can't go wrong when you focus on the well-being of others, right? So when you really put yourself and put others first, you can't really go wrong. When you're thinking of them and they're thinking of you, you'll never go wrong in that space. So, have that sense of purpose and being driven over, overall sense of meaning and your why, and just really trying something new and not being afraid to show people that you care, because somebody might really need to hear how much you care today. So don't be afraid to tell them. So I'll leave you with that. I'll make this little challenge, little ripple effect. I like to start chain reactions, if you will. Tell someone on your team and in your life today that they're special and why. That's what I'll ask you to do. That's my challenge.
It
Goes a long
Sounds like a
way.
plan.
It doesn't
It
cost
goes a long way.
anything. It's going to make you feel good. It's important how you feel. You'll feel lighter after you do it. They'll feel better. If you have the chance to make someone's day, you should.
Absolutely. I agree. Even if you're walking down the street, I'll smile at somebody, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference. If I'm at a restaurant and I get great service, I make a point to actually write on my receipt, great service. So and so was wonderful. And because of the fact that they're working hard. They're trying to do the best that they can in the service industry, and it really is something for contact center agents as well. I when I'm talking to our contact center agents, and again, I'm in the industry. I don't particularly love calling in and talking to the
Nobody does.
an agent, but if they do a great job, I will tell them. I've even come out and told them, I work for a contact center quality monitoring company, and you've done a fantastic job.
Love
So
it.
I've
Love
really
it.
tried to do that, and call it when I see it, and that's with everybody: employees, friends, spouses, family members, uh, wonderful guests like you, Valerie.
Oh, so sweet. So kind.
Yes, I
So
loved
kind.
our conversation, and I hate to say it, but this basically wraps up our discussion right
Went
now. But
too
that doesn't mean we
fast.
can't have
Went
a
too
part two.
fast. Anytime. Be
Part
my
two,
pleasure. Went too
and
fast. Cheers.
exactly. And for next time, I'm hoping to have some additional female women leaders in the industry as well. We're kind of doing a mini series on women in the contact centers. So I am excited. If you're anybody that's watching, listening on our podcast, please reach out if you'd like to share anything that you're working on. We'd love to have you every single time. So until then, cheers. And remember, leadership is as much about emotion and empathy as it is about strategy and execution. So keep that in mind. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye bye. Thanks so much.